And action.
Hello all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris. Thank you for that nice little clipboard action, Will. And each week I'm joined by hunky, hairy, huggable homos to review movies and discuss film news. Seriously, I look forward to this show so much every week. I love doing this with you guys. And thank you for those of you who are joining us live right now. Always good to see you. For those who are listening to us a couple days later through iTunes or Stitcher, we love you guys too. As usual, I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Jim Pugliafico.
Hi, and welcome to the podcast, everyone.
And Will Lindis.
Hey, viewers, listeners, welcome back.
All right, so got a fun show for you this week. We're gonna dish a little bit of film news before we talk about the new Tom Cruise sci-fi flick called Edge of Tomorrow, or as we like to refer to it, Edging with Tom Cruise.
Oh, wow. That's a thing to do on a Tuesday night.
Yes. I can't take credit for that. That was all Will Lindis. He said that moments before we went
Well,
live.
there are rumors. There are rumors.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
We are churning the rumor now.
Oh, boy. So, why don't we go ahead and just dig right into it then? You know what? Actually, no. F that. I'm lying. I'd like to celebrate a little bit. How do you guys feel about celebration?
Let's celebrate. What are we celebrating?
I'm good with celebrating.
81 freaking episodes. Can you believe that? 81.
Oh my gosh.
81.
Hey, why are we celebrating 81 when last?
I don't know. It's arbitrary. I don't know. I remember when I was like, oh my god, episode 19. This is awesome. I love this.
We're going to hit 20. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I know. And then today, like, I'm putting stuff together.
Oh, I know why we're celebrating 81.
Well, I just got that connection, but that's not why. Honestly, it's not. But you know what? Bonus. Anyway, so that's kind of awesome, and also a little scary that we've been doing this long, and I haven't realized till now, but whatever. Anyway,
we'll be inching up on 100, man.
I know.
Century.
Right around the corner. Oh my god.
No.
We'll have to come up with something really special to do for our 100th show.
We're going to have a really big episode for that because
we'll have to have like a retrospective, go over like just kind of cover each of our lives from birth to now and our favorite movie moments and people from our lives from the past.
Or we could just play 20 seconds from each episode in sequential order and make that a whole episode.
Yeah, it'd be like one of those like 1 second of every day, movies or that app. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just do like a few. Yeah, you're right. Like 10 seconds of audio from each show, and string it all together.
I can wear a silly hat. And Jim, nothing else.
That works.
Jim, you've been our master editor lately. We've got all the raw. We have all the raw files. If you want to put that together, I would listen.
Anyway. That would probably be just that would be
yeah. I'm really just kidding.
You know how long that would take, like to. I mean,
time.
even if you knew which 10 seconds of each episode to use, right? It would take a long time to put it together. But think about trying to find 10 seconds in each episode. That's crazy.
Just compile every time we've said the phrase "take a shot." Just have one master cut. Take a shot. 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 Take a shot.
There we go. Totally.
Or expectation management.
Or trope. Trope. Don't forget trope.
Or bitch pants.
Bitch harness. Anyway, celebration over. Thanks, guys. 81 episodes.
That was a wonderful 81 episodes.
We're glad you guys have stuck around as long as you have, and we're happy to see a lot of new guys coming to the show lately. We recently had a little bit of exposure on Growler, so it was nice to hear from some of you who have found us through that app. Awesome. We love having you guys come on board. But let's go ahead and just get into it now, guys. How about a little movie news? All right, so in terms of news this week, there are a few different things going on. that are a little bit interesting. Hopefully you guys will kind of jive with what excites us. And if not, well, sorry about your luck. Like Jeff Probst says, I got nothing for you. I knew you'd laugh.
Head back to camp. I got nothing for you.
Nothing
All
for
right.
you. Head back to camp.
Will, why don't you kick us off? What do you have this week?
So the first thing that I saw this week that I thought was pretty interesting was some news about the new Wachowski brothers movie. It's a sci-fi blockbuster that was originally set to go live this summer. It's called Jupiter Ascending. Warner Brothers has been putting out a few like TV spots, trailers, and things like that. And then kind of out of nowhere, Warner Brothers moved the film to February of 2015, which is alarming news. Anytime a film that's originally slated for summer gets shunted off to like January, February, you already know that there's some sort of problem happening. The film doesn't have faith in the film, or the studio doesn't have faith in the film. Maybe there's some sort of problem, something that needs to be retouched. Something is happening. But to do so when the TV and trailers and all that stuff is already out there is even more alarming. Like usually when something gets moved like this, it's kind of in the early stages. But for a last-minute change like this, man, it's a bummer too. I was looking forward to this one quite a bit. It comes on the heels of the last Wachowski film, Cloud Atlas, which did a lot better overseas than it did here. Raked in like 27 million here in the States, like 100 million overseas. But I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think the Wachowskis do have a lot of they have a really good vision that sometimes goes off the rails, but it is often makes for some great films. So I was really looking forward to this one. Now I've got to wait a little bit longer, and now there's these little doubts creeping in about the quality of Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah. Well, apparently, one of the big reasons for that, and yes, I have a cat growing onto my chest, was that they were wanting to like further polish the visual effects, which makes me wonder how were they not polished before? I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows if that's the truth? If that's just a kind of a red herring for other things that are going on? Maybe they didn't like some scenes that they wanted to redo. I mean, the other reason, and I don't know if this is a possibility since they did release a statement, is, they could be repositioning the film for hopefully a better, a better chance at profitability. You know what I mean? A lot nowadays with so many movies being released week after week after week. Studios are jockeying for different weeks, to position their movie more advantageously so that it's not up against another huge blockbuster, or maybe they're positioning it in a release week where there isn't a big blockbuster for 2 weeks following. I don't know. It's hard to say. Will, what was the original date for this one?
I don't remember. I don't recall the exact date for it, but I knew it was coming up this summer, like a June-July release, something like that. So it wasn't too far out.
So it could have been up against something really big that and now it's maybe not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm sure they moved it for whatever reason they moved it. But if they did it because they wanted to not put it against other blockbusters, that goes back to show that they didn't have faith in the film. Like,
right.
They want these films to like go into the box office and they want it to crush the competition. And if they felt like there's something wrong with it or that it's weak compared to the rest of the field, that's a big sign. Now there is the possibility too that it might still do well. I'm a little skeptical now with the February release date, but you've got films like World War Z, which I thought was not a great film. I had a lot of problems with it, but it had a lot of like production issues. It did a lot of like big reshoots. Like it was in the press, like all of the issues that were happening with it. But the end result there was actually a film that was, again, not something that I enjoyed personally, but it was an extremely profitable film. Actually, Brad Pitt's most profitable film to date. So, there's still a possibility for like a film that gets plagued with these types of production issues or potential production issues or what have you to be successful, and I'm holding out hope for that. But this does cast a bit of a cloud over things.
A bit of a cloud atlas over things.
A bit of a cloud atlas over the Wachowski film.
Yeah, so the release date was July 18th, and it's kind of crazy because if you search for Jupiter Ascending now on Google, first thing it shows you is a box with like the release date of the movie. This is July 18th. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
It
So,
was. You're saying it was July 18th, right?
it was July
It
18th.
was.
Yeah.
Now it's February 6th, 2015.
Right. Yep.
Hmm.
Little cray
I
cray.
guess maybe they were a little bit afraid of Planes, Fire, and Rescue, which is also releasing that week.
Wow.
Yeah, I imagine the Wachowskis are big vision people. I imagine they went over budget, or they didn't finish their production thing on time. There's a lot of things that probably happened there, and the studio
Yeah.
freaked out and moved the
Yeah.
date, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh wow. All right. Well, Jim, what do you got this week?
Well, I've got. We talked about Ant-Man last week. We talked about the issues that Marvel was having with the director of that film. The previous writer and director of that film left the project under weird circumstances, and he. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I was video muting myself to pick my teeth. Thanks for outing me.
Wonderful.
My teeth, not my nose. My teeth.
Nice.
No, I'm glad for that clarification because I was wondering.
I figured you would be. Yeah.
So
Anyway, go ahead.
back to Ant-Man. Marvel was without a director after Edgar Wright left the scene. He had been working on that project for like 8 years. It made a big deal in the news, and so Marvel has scoured the planet. Several other possible directors had been named over the last couple of weeks, and they finally announced, I think toward the end of last week, that a guy named Peyton Reed was signed on to direct. And he is a director who worked on films like Yes Man, Bring It On, if you guys have seen Bring It On, The Breakup, all kind of comedy, related movies. And so, in addition to bringing on Peyton Reed to direct, they've also got Adam McKay, who was also in line to possibly direct this movie until he turned it down. They brought him back on to rewrite the script that Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish had come up with. So it's kind of really a shell game here with writers and directors for this project. Will, you mentioned that you get a little nervous when these kind of big changes are made to movies that are fairly close to release. This movie was scheduled for release about a little more than a year from now, and it's still scheduled for a July 2015 release. But here we are. I mean, they haven't started. It sounds like they're still working on a script. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if we'll see delays coming up for this, or we're just going to get a big pile of crap. I have no idea what we're going to get, but it's kind of a curious situation. And to be honest, I mean, like, this is going to be the Peyton Reed's first comic book movie. He hasn't done any comic book movies before. Apparently, Marvel hopefully knows what they're doing. I still wouldn't be surprised to see this movie either pushed off or shelved. I mean, can you imagine what a task it's going to be for this new guy to come on this project with a script that's already written, cast that's probably already been developed, and try to basically make somebody else's movie for a studio that wants you to make it a certain way. I just don't know if they'd have to give me a big paycheck for that. Oh, it's King Brad.
It sounds pretty awful to me, honestly. Like, I would not want to be in that situation.
Yeah. So, all I can say is, like I said, I'm not a comic book fan, so, I mean, Ant-Man wasn't even really on my radar, but I know for some fans of this show, they're big comic book fans, and Ant-Man's a big deal. Will, from that perspective, what do you think of this?
So it's always dissettling when you have a filmmaker that you enjoy. Edgar Wright. I enjoy his work. He's got a very unique style. Removed from a project and replaced by someone who I think I don't necessarily have any problems with Peyton Reed as a director, as much as I don't know that I have a good feel for what his style is. I don't know that I just knowing what I know about the director and his films that I can really say like, oh yeah, Peyton Reed's really going to come at it with this type of energy or that. So in some ways, it looks things very up in the air. Now I trust Marvel so far. They haven't led me wrong with any of their films. By and large, this is a studio that knows how to craft its world, craft its directors, move things in a good way. So I have every faith that that's what they're going to be doing here. But at the same time, yeah, it's disconcerting to not have Wright on board. You also have to look at this film as part of like the next wave of Marvel movies. And all of these films are set to come out in very specific time frames to tie into the next film and to set up the next Avengers film or whatever the next tentpole is going to be after this. So if they do push it back any, it's probably going to be like a matter of like, I don't think that they can push it back dramatically, just because I don't know that their overall schedule will allow it. Yeah. So they're going to have to really, really put their nose to the grindstone.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm kind of surprised that that they're going primarily for a lot of comedy. I mean, I know that Wright was a more of a comedy writer. So this movie seems to have been imagined with a totally different tone than a lot of other Marvel movies that I know of to date. I mean, sure, there's been comedy in some of the movies, but look at Iron Man had its moments and so forth, but they seem to have a strong emphasis on that genre going into this movie. So I think it's going to be something totally different. And obviously, movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe they're moving that way. Maybe they're going to make every movie, have a real strong comedy streak to it. I don't know.
I don't know.
You have the different films so far have all been very genre specific, right? Like the first Captain America was a war flick. The next one was a political thriller. Thor had a lot of was like a modern mythology. You have a lot of films that are like the Marvel films are not just like superhero movies. They're very firmly planted in another genre. So Ant-Man, it makes sense for them to do that as a comedy, just because it's a character that is either a little more quirky, or when he's dark, he's really, really dark, and I think they want to avoid the really, really dark stuff that happens in the comics and going with the more quirky, upbeat stuff. So having a director with his feet planted in the world of direction for comedy is probably the right direction. I don't know if this guy is the right guy for it. I don't know. This is going to definitely be a wait-and-see thing for me.
Yeah, who doesn't want a Marvel Ant-Man cheerleader competition movie?
Bring it on.
Bring it on, baby.
All right. Interesting. Well, let's see. For me, what do I have this week? Oh, I forgot one bit of celebration. Are you guys ready? More celebration.
Celebrate.
It was Jim's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Jim.
Yay!
Thank you.
We weren't recording yesterday, so we didn't celebrate. So we'll celebrate now. All right. So, anyway, celebration over for real this time. For me this week, I had initially good news, now maybe sad news. The story broke today all over the interweb that there had been comments from an individual named Larry Nemec, who is the world-renowned expert on Star Trek. He's written a lot of the Star Trek trivia books.
Even more than you?
I know, right? Is that even possible?
I don't know.
And I had the privilege of meeting Larry at a Star Trek convention several years ago. Anyway, super cool guy, very knowledgeable. Anyway, a story came out with comments from him about a new Star Trek series that was in development for Netflix. And initially this sounded awesome, but of course things are always too good to be true. Larry Nemec came out with a statement later on this afternoon basically saying that while he's aware that Netflix is shopping around a Star Trek show with CBS, there's been really no bite from CBS's end to actually make it happen. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It could just be sort of on the DL. But it's certainly not as promising as it initially seemed. It's just unfortunate because it's so hard to I don't know, get excited about things on the internet these days because you never know, like, what's true, what's not true. You know what I mean? So
the signal to noise ratio is pretty bad.
I know. I know, but my question to you is, since Netflix is still trying to court CBS for a Star Trek show, what do you guys think of a Star Trek show on CBS or on Netflix?
Wow, I don't know. I guess it depends on how they would be to set it up. I mean, we've had how many different Star Trek series already? I don't know. It's hard for me to say. While it might get me excited, I think if it was done the right way, I know it gets you excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True. How about
for me, it's so I'm not a big Trekkie. You know, I've not watched a lot of the shows. I've watched, you know, maybe a handful of original series, maybe, you know, a dozen or so Next Generation, and that's probably about it. That said, there is a part of this news that is kind of exciting for me as a guy who doesn't have a lot of this like Star Trek history. This might be like a good jumping off point. You know, I've seen the most recent films and been pretty excited. I've seen the previous films as well, but you know, the ones with J.J. Abrams, there's a new energy going with them. There's all that stuff going forward, and so this is possibly the type of like jumping off point or point where a guy who doesn't have this experience can maybe get his into the Star Trek universe. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the potential of maybe being more of a Trekkie or maybe learning a bit more about this universe that I know kind of tangentially.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, did they say that it was going to be kind of centered or based around the current Star Trek, crew or timeline or anything?
No, there was no information, you know, about what the setting would be, whether it's a J.J. Abrams verse, you know, TV show or, you know, something that happens after Star Trek Voyager or, you know, nothing was really said about that. But I find myself really excited by the idea of like a J.J. Abrams verse show. I think that would be really neat. You know, it doesn't have to follow the Enterprise. You know what I mean? It could be a ship we've never heard of before, and what it's doing could be totally used as a vehicle. You know what I mean? Like for the movies to kind of like give a little bit of extra padding around some things that happen, like this coming war with the Klingons. You know what I mean? Like that could be really interesting to explore in a show for a couple seasons before the new series, you know, or before the new movie would come out.
You totally need to write that shit, Brad.
You think so? I'll write it and pitch it to CBS now.
You need to submit that script outline and get a meeting with somebody.
Totally. We'll call it Star Trek March to Konos. You know,
I don't know, but
yeah. So anyway, I'm excited at the prospect. I think a Netflix Trek show would actually be really cool. It's clear that Star Trek fans want it. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Star Trek properties are the most streamed thing on Netflix by and large. Like people are shotgun marathoning that bullshit. Well, it's not bullshit. It's wonderful stuff, but it's kind of crazy. Like I was looking at some information online today. Again, who knows if it's true or not? But I guess Netflix was saying that it's like their most streamed property, and
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I do that. I like to put on like, you know, because Netflix does this thing now where they chain together like 5 episodes of stuff unless you tell it to stop. Right. You know what I mean? So I like to put on like episodes of Deep Space Nine or something and just let it kind of play in the background while I'm writing during the day or hanging out. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, I've gone to friends' house and like, you know, they always, you know, this isn't just one. I've got multiple friends that are like this. You go to their house and at any given time they've probably got an episode of Next Gen playing in the background. No, I believe it.
Indeed. And I've totally been getting back into it because I've been watching the Next Generation Blu-rays, and holy crap, that show is so good, and it looks so amazing now. It's like it's a brand new show in a way. Anyway, blah, 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 Star Trek, blah. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
All a big nothing burger, or is it really going to happen? Or is it, I mean, how much?
Who knows? Who knows? CBS doesn't seem to be biting. You know what I mean, right now. Or they're keeping it secret. Secret. Who knows? You know what I mean? It sounds like a nothing burger, but who knows?
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, me too, because I think that would be cool. But, you know, the world isn't built on wishes and dreams. It's built on standing on the backs of the poor and pissing on people. So, whatever. All right. Speaking of
And beheadings.
And beheadings. Don't forget beheadings. Yes, always with the beheadings. Okay, so I would say let's just go ahead and move on to our movie discussion this week.
A big movie this week.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Live, die, repeat. We are, of course, speaking of the new Tom Cruise sci-fi action flick, Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, let's just dive right in. Here we go. Edge of Tomorrow. And okay, so as usual, no spoilers. The no spoiler rule is in effect. We're going to kick things off a little bit by just letting you know what we think in terms of whether this movie is worth your time and money to check out. And then later on, we will take the bus to SpoilerTown and break this movie down bit by bit and discuss the plot.
Express to SpoilerTown.
The express to the drop ship to SpoilerTown, if you will.
Yes. Oops.
Yeah. So Jim.
Yes.
Jim. That was the name of a boat in your
That's
past.
My boat. That's
the Jim
my
Jim.
Boat. The Jim Jim.
Mm-hmm. Someday it will be your boat again. We're gonna get one and name it the Jim Jim 2. Anyway,
Squared.
Edge of Tomorrow, or Edging with Tom Cruise. What did you think?
Let's see. I didn't really expect a lot from this movie, but then as we were getting ready to go see it, people who had advanced screeners and so forth, some of the buzz started to build up for this movie, and most of it, what I heard, was positive. And I have to say that I did enjoy this movie a lot. We saw it over the weekend, and I was pleasantly surprised, just like I was with Oblivion, Tom Cruise's last movie. Anyway, Edge of Tomorrow is a new science fiction adventure movie, I guess, with elements of time travel, alien invasion, war, also in there. It kind of lumped a lot of different genres together, which was fine with me. I think it mostly worked. It's set in the near future. I would say the Earth is under attack by an alien race. None of this is spoilers. This is all in the trailers. You have everyone's favorite aging Scientologist action movie star, Tom Cruise, in the lead role, as there to save humanity, of course. It also stars Emily Blunt in a pretty good supporting role, if you like Emily Blunt. She's got a lot of work to do here, and I think she does very well. The one actor who I think I enjoyed, other than the lead, the one supporting actor I liked the best here was Bill Paxton. I really liked Bill Paxton in this movie. He had kind of a small to medium role in the movie as a Army drill sergeant / captain, but I really liked him. So yeah, I mean, I really like this movie. It's the movie uses time travel as a central feature, I guess, of the plot, and kind of actually time travel does drive the plot in this movie. There's not that much new in the movie. It's just very well crafted. Like I said, I think it's kind of a true science fiction movie, kind of in the vein of like Oblivion was. Although, like I said, this one does add the time travel. I guess you could call it a gimmick if you want. I think it's worth seeing in theaters, in my opinion. If you get a chance to go out and see it, a lot of people, I guess the numbers performance-wise on this movie in terms of tickets sold and stuff isn't what they expected it to be, but I'm not sure. We could probably debate that for a while, but I think that it's definitely worth seeing. It's worth seeing in theaters. It's visually well done, has a very good sound design. I don't think you'd have to see it in 3D. This was 3D, right, Brad? We did see it in 3D?
Yeah, we definitely saw it in 3D.
I don't think the 3D necessarily is a must in this movie. I just think it's visually it works, and it's got good sound design. We'll talk about some other notable supporting performances and stuff when we get into spoilers. But yeah, I'd say it's definitely on the positive side for me.
How about you, Will?
For me, with Reg of Tomorrow, oh shit, can I just go back in time and do that over?
Edging for tomorrow.
Edging for tomorrow? No, yeah, I'm fucking around.
Live,
yeah, no,
repeat.
Wow,
oh my gosh.
Jim.
Yeah, wow.
We're earning
whew.
our explicit tag this week, apparently.
It's not Friday yet. No, I liked Edge of Tomorrow a lot. I was actually kind of in the same boat. I enjoyed Oblivion more than I was expecting. I heard some of the positive buzz about Edge of Tomorrow and was very pleasantly surprised with the film that I got. I'm the type of guy that tends to be predisposed to liking like time travel-y type films or science fiction that involves time travel, and this is a film that does it mostly pretty good. Save for a couple of things that we'll get into in spoilers. There's one thing that I didn't care for, but it's like very spoiler specific. We'll get to it.
Okay.
A lot of the film avoided a lot of like plot holes, which would have been really easy to do with the. It would have been really easy for them to have fucked up with the type of film they had. Tom Cruise is top notch here. The film, as you can see from the trailers, it plays off of the theme of like, time repeating, time repeating, time repeating. And what's so great about it is it plays almost like, and this is something that people my generation will totally get, like a video game respawn. Anyone that's ever played like a video game where like, you run a little ways through the level, you fuck up, some guy shoots you, and then you have to start over, then hopefully improve, get better. Gosh, this movie plays a lot like that. And Tom Cruise is a top-notch form here. He's a guy who always comes across very cocksure with his roles. As an action hero, he is the alpha. He is the guy that, like, he grins, he smiles, and he kicks everybody's ass. And here you get to see him play with a little bit more breath to his role. It starts off with him being a bit more timid, a bit more of a coward, and he has to earn being cocky. He has to earn being cocksure. So it's nice seeing him. He still gets to be Tom Cruise, doing Tom Cruise things in a Tom Cruise action movie, but he has to work to get there. I enjoyed that. Emily Blunt was quite good. She was very, 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 very believable in her role. I really enjoyed her as an action hero, and the physique on her was like perfect for this role. The aliens looked cool. The battle sequences looked cool. I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I will say, go see this movie in theaters. It has not had a big box office draw so far, and that's a shame because I think this film is better than, at least for me, better than a lot of Tom Cruise action offerings. It reminds me of Oblivion, a film that like way exceeded expectations. If you haven't seen it, you should. I would also skip the 3D. I saw it in 3D myself, and I maybe there was like one sequence where I remembered it adding something, but there was a lot of times where it was just
flat,
extra shit on my face. When trying to watch the movie. So
it
was alien on your face.
Yeah, it was so much harder to edge. Oh my gosh, yeah, this is. Someone's on Urban Dictionary. Why do they keep saying that? Oh. No, so yeah, go see in theater, skip the 3D, but you should go see it. It'll look good on a big screen, and it's a really good sci-fi action flick. Go see it.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I really appreciated that Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt were an effective team.
Are we an effective team?
Are y'all an effective team? Anyway, Oblivion was seriously underrated by all you people. I thought it was a great film. I think you should go see it. Obviously, we're not talking about Oblivion, but we kind of are because it's interesting. I wouldn't really think of Tom Cruise as like a sci-fi action hero kind of guy. I know he's had some roles before, but I've never really bought him in that role. And it wasn't until Oblivion where I really sat up and was like, this is interesting. The guy who jumps up and down on the couch and is crazy for Scientology can actually pull a really awesome sci-flick out of his ass. But he pulled it off. And so going into Edge of Tomorrow, I was more inclined to give Mr. Cruise my trust. this time than I was with Oblivion, and I was not disappointed actually. Well, I lie. I was disappointed by the end. That really didn't have anything to do with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and we'll talk about that.
But it wasn't even really the end. Well, never mind. We'll talk. It's
Well,
more like it's more like an epilogue, but we'll get.
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. We are edging after all. We don't want to shoot our wad too early.
Right.
But yeah, no. I mean, I thought he did a great job. And Will, I like that you brought up the point that he had to earn being Danger Zone Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? It was nice to see him sort of like. I don't know, not be the crazy, awesome, arrogant, confident dude that we know at first. You know, he had to get to that point.
You kind of have this like everyman military guy thrust into this situation. You know that he has to kind of grow into the badass. You know, Tom Cruise, and I thought that totally worked in this movie.
I agree. So I really love the fact that we got to see that journey. I thought Emily Blunt did great. I loved her Final Fantasy-esque sword. That was cool. We see that in the trailer. I just love the look and feel of this world. I mean, it's obviously the future. How far in the future, we don't know. But I really love the premise of the film. Initially, I was kind of like not so jazzed about it because the whole like live, die, repeat, you know, like it's like how many times are we going to see the same stuff over and over and over again? And a lot of other shows and movies have done that scenario to really poor effect. But I actually really love how this movie tackled it. It kept things fresh, I thought. There was really only one line that irked me that we heard like every time things looped back, and we'll talk about that as well. But overall, I don't know. I think it's a good movie. I give it B plus ish. I think it's worth seeing. The visuals are great. I like the alien design. Jim, you mentioned that the alien design reminded you a little bit of Attack the Block, right?
A little bit. I mean, in terms of just the way I don't want to give too much away with regard to the alien design. You see a little bit of it in the trailer. I like the fact that they were super quick and fast and not like these lumbering, you know, menacing things. I mean, they were like, you know, instant death basically when they appeared, which was really cool, and it kind of heightened the tension quite a bit in the roles in the scenes with the alien. But I thought that I'll just say there were features on these aliens that reminded me of the Attack the Block aliens, and I didn't do any research to see if the same effects or design team worked on this movie and Attack the Block. So maybe one of our viewers or listeners could, if they know, could check it out and let us know.
Well, Brad, you mentioned like the Final Fantasy sword. When I saw it, what I immediately thought of was like, these are aliens that are more like monsters than they are like another alien force, like other people with like guns and things like that. Which was part of the which was part of the menace. Like it's a lot easier to be terrified of these things because they are so damn alien. But to me, they came across very much like, and a lot of this film did, like a really well planned out like video game cutscene. And a lot of times you hear that used as like an insult, like, oh, the Spider-Man swinging around looked just like a cutscene. But this actually was kind of like used to like, you know, this is the good side of that same coin. Like a lot of the pacing felt very dynamic. Everything felt very clean. You felt like the different enemies you could almost see like the different amounts of like hit points that they had. You could almost see the heroes getting like the next level of equipment or the next skill level with the, you know, with whatever experience bar they're on. So it's one of those things where like when I say that it comes across almost like a good video game cutscene, that's a compliment. This is like a film doing that well.
And one of the other things I really liked was a lot of the dark humor in this film. There were some genuinely funny beats that weren't trying to be overly funny, and I think that's part of why they worked for me. Pretty much with me in comedies, when you're trying to be funny, it falls flat. And that's part of my issue. Wes Anderson. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was a good movie. Sorry,
You mean Seth MacFarlane?
Looking at me weird. Seth MacFarlane too. Seth MacFarlane.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Million Ways to Die. You tried too hard. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, try hard. That should be Anyway, but guys, I think we should just go ahead and get right into spoilers and move along. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else we left out of non-spoilers that people should know about the movie. I think we've kind of described it pretty well in a general sense. And
agreed.
Agreed. Yeah, like I said, I think we're all in agreement that it's worth seeing. So now we'll get into spoilers and talk about some of the details.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, did you have something else to say before?
Yeah, it's just for anyone that's still like kind of on the fence, like what type of movie is this? Think like elements of Looper mixed with elements of Groundhog Day. If with Tom Cruise in it. If that type of description, gets you jazzed, if you liked Groundhog Day, you'll like this. This
or
is
Looper.
Of Groundhog Day.
You just made my brain hurt by putting Looper and Groundhog Day together. I hated Groundhog Day. Oh my God, did I hate that movie.
We're gonna have words. We're gonna have words,
Jesus.
Brad. But that's a review for another time.
Here. I'm different.
Yeah. Anyway. Yes, agreed on Looper. Anyway, SpoilerTown, here we go. Spoilers are incoming. If you are still listening, you listen at your own peril of losing your virginal innocence when it comes to edging with Tom Cruise. That's our show title this week, I think, guys. I'm going to use it like 1,000 times just so we can
I think that's fine. Earn it, hashtag it.
That's right. Oh, we got to make a hashtag. Totally.
Get it trending.
All right, so spoilers are totally fair game. What do you guys want to talk about first?
I think I'd like to start, instead of, in movies like this, there's a lot of sci-fi aspects, there's time travel aspects. We're going to start picking things apart. It was a good movie. I think we all agree it was a good movie, good to very good movie in some cases. But there's going to be some things that we didn't really like and whatever, and we'll pick those apart soon enough. But one of the things I liked about this movie is there's an opening sequence right after Tom Cruise wakes up he's on a base, I guess, right? At first I thought he was on some kind of ship, but I guess he's on a base, a training base for the Army. These soldiers are getting ready to fight the alien invasion. Just that whole scene of him waking up disoriented, being forced into a battle situation that he was totally not prepared for, and then they go into it the next morning, and they go into these drop planes. They get suited up in these exo suits, I guess you could call them. With here's Tom Cruise. He's kind of like a new recruit in the Marine Corps, given all this stuff that he doesn't know what to do with, and he's being dropped right in the middle on the front of the enemy lines. I just love that whole sequence from when it started to when it restarted again later on. I mean, because of the time travel aspect. Just very disorienting, very threatening. You didn't know what was going to happen next. It gave you a really good... That was the one time that I really felt, a visceral tension, I guess, in the scene. Didn't know what was going to happen. I just love that sequence. I thought it was the best sequence of the movie by far. I mean, and after that, when things happened and he, this movie had the premise of, going back and resetting time back to a certain point. The thing I liked is that they didn't necessarily repeat everything that just happened. That obviously would have been very, very difficult. They showed you different bits and pieces and allowed you to put that together, that puzzle together a little bit in your head. And every time it showed you either a dead end where he had to reset and come back and start again and go down a different path, make something else happen. I liked that aspect of the movie a lot.
Yeah, with a film like this, where the premise is we're repeating the same moments over and over, trying to get it right. You have to have two things very well established, and I think the film did a great job of that in that opening sequence. You have to get a good feel of who is doing what when, and who is doing what where. You need to know where all of your major things are happening and when they're all happening. They need to all be memorable. They need to be interesting. There needs to be a lot of little touch points so that when he repeats and you see him walking in, to the barracks, like where that is in the story. If you just cut to a sequence of him just holding on, oh shit, in the dropship, you know what's happened to get up to that point.
Right.
So the film really established its own world, which is that one day, that one little chunk of time. So that as a viewer, you never felt lost. Like I never felt like I had any I didn't know what was happening or how we got there. I could totally connect the dots every single time.
Yeah, there was one point for me, Will, where I was scratching my head a little bit because it was so different than what I thought the timeline was and the events that were happening. And I asked Brad about it.
Oh, you're talking about when Tom Cruise went to the bar, right?
Yeah, there's a scene where all of a sudden he's on a motorcycle and he ends up at a bar right after riding through the streets. And I'm like, where the fuck does this fit in the timeline? I wasn't quite sure, and Brad told me that basically it was a kind of a side spur that he took.
He took a loop off, essentially.
Kind of a loop off of the main track that they had been beating the whole time. Like, what if? Like, what if he just bailed and went, to a bar?
And that what if was important because that's the one where you find out that not just does the battle go bad, but all of London gets destroyed.
Right.
So it puts more he can't just sit it out. He has to do this right, or he's dead anyway. All dead.
Can I just point out, Jim? We've been making all these jokes about edging, and you just inadvertently said beating the whole time.
I said what?
You said beating the whole time.
I said beating.
Beating. You said that the trail they've been beating
they had
the
been
whole
beating
time.
that path. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. It just kind of struck me funny, but
wow.
No, you're right. It is a little jarring because I get why they did it, and I think it was cool. But my big question is, how did he get off the base? You know what I mean? They have security patrols. Where did he get a motorcycle? How did he drive it off the base without being stopped? Apparently he's being labeled as a deserter, but no one cares?
Yeah, it was weird because, if they had showed that, him busting through a gate, or maybe they did and I missed it. I don't know.
No, they didn't.
It was just kind of sudden for me, where is the scene? And I'm not saying that it was bad. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that at the time it kind of pulled me out a little bit because I was trying to think. I was overthinking what it was and what it really meant. But other than that, I really liked the way they handle time travel. I'm not really a big fan of time travel in movies. It is a gimmick. It's a plot contrivance and kind of an easy way to wrinkle your make different wrinkles in your plot. But I thought for this movie, it worked.
What did you guys think of the mechanic of the time travel? You get monster goo all over you, and you gain access to their power.
It worked within the lore of the movie. Aside from what we get to in the ending, we'll talk about the ending in detail in a moment. But up through the film where they explain you have the regular mimics and you've got the alphas, and these are your elite troops, and they have a failsafe built into them where when they die, the hive mind can reset them to get the battle going back their own way. And because he got this goo all over him, he is now he's now tied into that same mechanic. With any science fiction, you have to take leaps. You have to be able to say, well, how could that happen? Why could that happen? They explained it, at least to me, in a satisfactory way. They set up the mechanic for it. Again, save for some stuff in the ending of the film. They stuck to their own rules fairly well, even with what they did with the Emily Blunt character. Once you find out that it happened to her as well, so I was cool with it.
Find me when you wake up.
This movie, a lot of ways was like a video game, right? You guys that are much more. Play a lot more games than I do. The whole premise of live, die, repeat is a video game concept, basically. I mean, you go through a game, you're going through a level, you come up against some obstacle, you fall off a cliff, boom, you're dead. In some games, you go back to the beginning of the level, right? I mean, that's kind of the way it does it. And that's the way this game set it up. And not only that, but there was also the whole concept of the big bad. You know what I mean? At the end, there's a big bad hidden somewhere in the world, and we got to find it and bring the bomb and blow it up, right? I mean, that's totally a video game concept. The other thing is the whole training scenario with the training dummies or alien drones or whatever they were, robotic alien mechanical mock-ups in this kind of shooting gallery to train the soldiers. Again, that was a very video gamey kind of environment. And, for a guy who doesn't really play a lot of video games myself, you would think that would turn me off. But in this movie, it worked, and I liked it.
No, absolutely. You think of even something very simple and easy to explain, like the first Mario Brothers on Nintendo. Like, the first time you're running around and there's one of those little Goombas running around, well, what is this thing? You walk into it, it kills you. Then you play, and now I can jump over this thing. And once you've gone through it a couple of times, when you get to that first little guy, it's like he won't ever kill you again. You've, way past the skill level of this thing. You're going to die to the potted plant thing. You're going to die in the water level. Something else is going to get you, and then you'll die, get better, start over, and keep going. So, yeah, there's a lot of, that whole, learning and getting better and dying until you get it right and beat the final boss that played out in this film.
Right.
I just had this image in my head, Will, of the final boss fight when he sees that the alpha is now chasing after him and he has to jump through the hole. I just hear in my head that do then the boss
somebody totally needs to do a recut of this movie and dub in video game sounds. I think that would
it'd be awesome.
Put, Tom Cruise's head in the bottom right corner with a little health bar and
either that or
something like that.
Either that or do an 8-bit video version of this movie.
Yeah.
Every time every time you hear Tom Cruise jump, it goes bow, bow, bow. Or he's skulking around in the dark.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah. Let's talk about the final boss fight. Let's just skip right to the end, rather than rehashing.
Right. And this is where I think it kind of went weak a little bit.
It really goes off the rails for me. I really enjoyed the first three-fourths of this film a lot. But I felt like the boss fight thing was kind of rote. And then, of course, magical reset happiness of reset. Was it an alternate universe then, I'm guessing? Because I don't quite understand,
Well, now you're getting into that epilogue part that I'm talking about, right? This was
okay. Let's separate the boss fight from the epilogue.
Yeah, let's set this up. So there's a certain point in the film, about 3/4 of the way through, where and they hint about this throughout the course of the movie. There's a way that you can lose your powers, if you get a blood transfusion from someone else. If you get injured but don't die, the blood transfusion will dilute your blood. You'll lose your powers. This happens to Tom Cruise, and so now they basically no longer have their magical reset power. They now know where the final boss is, which they didn't know before, but they've only got one shot to get it right.
Totally
one shot.
There's no reset. So that's our setup going in here. And the thing is, that's a cool setup. Now the stakes are raised. The stakes are higher than they were before. We now have, there's no magically saving ourselves. If we fuck things up, we're goners.
This is our only hope.
Stakes are good, but the execution was poor for me for the final sequence. You have a lot of characters that the film had taken a lot of time to really set up. J Squad, who you didn't get to see a lot from, but you got to see little snippets of their personality.
We did get to see a lot of one J Squad member. We had a furry fat man butt in a jockstrap.
We got to see Kimmel's ass.
We got to see bare butt in a jockstrap.
In an exosuit. How awesome!
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. That was
so
that was
ready for
one
me
of the
to blow your
highlights.
mind?
Yes, blow my mind.
The actor who played Kimmel, his name is Tony Way. He's also played a character that we kind of know very well from Game of Thrones, Dantos Hollart. Dantos from King's Landing, kind of the jester.
Oh, that's him! Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
No spoilers for Game of Thrones, but
Yeah.
yes.
He's
Sir
in
Dantos.
That's not a spoiler.
Yes, Sir Dantos.
Sir Dantos. Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize that was him.
Dantos butt.
Yay!
But what's disappointing? Nothing was disappointing with that scene. That scene was really cool. But so him and a few of the other J Squad members, you don't get to spend a lot of time with them. This is Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's movie, but you got to see them do some small things early on where you got a chance to know, okay, well, this is this person's personality, this is this person's personality. And so they get to come along for this final sequence as well. And then the more interesting ones personality-wise get killed kind of off screen, and you're left with some of the less interesting people like doing these heroic acts, and it's like I don't give a shit about these characters because I was looking at I was literally looking at the other J Squad members.
Well, you know the fat guy's going to get killed first. You know
Of course.
But a few of the J Squad members, the female, she was, she always had like some sort of little line of dialogue, and she just kind of disappeared in that sequence. Like. Yeah. We didn't get a chance, any resolution to her story as thin as it was. So J Squad was wasted in that sequence. It was like they were just there to show you that the stakes were even higher. Let's kill them off one last time.
Yeah, I mean they brought all these, they went through all this trouble of getting J Squad to change their plans and abandon the base and go with them the night before on this mission, and you're like, oh, this is going to be cool. What do? They might as well have all been wearing red shirts.
Right.
Like, really.
Right.
Like, they just, like, within the first few minutes, it just killed them off, like, one after the other, until, of course, it's down to Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise. And then, not only at that, to water that down a little more, they had to throw in a kissing scene right before the bomb goes off. Right? I mean, like,
Why can't they just be two?
Why can't they just be friends with a little bit of tension? I mean, do they really have to go there?
Right.
They didn't really have to, if you ask me. I don't know why they do that.
I agree.
It wasn't earned at that point. Like that's the thing. Like to remember. Like maybe maybe Tom Cruise's character has earned these feelings over hundreds and hundreds of days with this woman. But she has known him for less than 24 hours, or maybe about 24 hours at that point. Because of all the resets. So yeah, it felt it almost felt like someone read the script to this and said, hey, we need a kiss here. We need to make sure that this happens, and then we need to throw in a happy ending in the epilogue. So can you rewrite it? Can you reshoot it? I don't know if that's what happened, but it does feel kind of forced and tacked on.
Maybe they could have worked in some more of the relationship stuff. I thought the stuff they did work in was a little bit lame and kind of throwaway.
Well, you missed the tender coffee scene while you went to the bathroom.
Oh, that's what it was. I did see the tender car scene, like, what is your middle name?
Oh, yeah. You missed the scene where she basically discovers that he has been in this moment with her 300 times, he says. And so she feels the weight of him getting to know her 300 times. And she talks about how she had someone like that when she was in that position, and she lost him, hundreds of times. And she finally opens up with him and becomes a little vulnerable. And I actually liked that scene. I'm sorry that you missed it because I actually thought it was one of the more earned moments. But yeah, I did think the kissing thing was a little. I didn't think that was
maybe at the wrong moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there was chemistry between them. They had chemistry. And yeah, in that sequence there, that one where they're driving and then they're kind of holed up in that farmhouse and all of the things that happen around there, I think the interactions between Cruise and Blunt were, I guess, in that reset, were probably my favorite.
More genuine.
Because you had more downtime where they could just interact and chat with one another.
Right.
So,
definitely.
I mean, not to say that the romance itself wasn't earned, but I think that the kiss at that point felt awkward and kind of shoehorned.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, as an epilogue to our discussion, let's talk about the epilogue before we move into some plugs. So,
Yeah.
alternate
Set
universe.
it up. We'll
is
knock
that
it down.
is that so essentially
No.
Tom Cruise, after he blows up the big Omega, he gets covered in Omega blue stuff and he resets again. Apparently he now permanently has the power to reset or something. But this time when he resets, it's to the day, like, it's earlier than it was before, right? It's to the very
Right.
first moment when we see him on the film on the helicopter coming in. Only this time the aliens have like already been pretty much like defeated, right? All the big ones are dying. They're mopping up the little ones. There's this announcement that they're winning. But things are now playing out very differently from that earlier moment. So I don't know. Was that confusing to anybody else?
Yeah, it was really confusing because they didn't really set up. They didn't really offer that mechanism that would allow that kind of a reset to happen. At that point, they kind of changed the rules of the game a little bit. I thought, like,
Right.
they reset things for him. I'm sorry, they reset things for him, but they didn't reset everything else. Like
Right.
it's almost like the defeat of the aliens had already happened when he gets sent back in time. It's just really weird.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, I wasn't necessarily confused by it. I was disappointed by it because what they did was they sacrificed what I thought was a fairly tightly written science fiction-y explanation to get force feed us a happy ending. In fact, if you think about the actual mechanism for the time travel. It's built so that when the Omegas and the Alphas, whenever the mimics are in trouble, they can reset to save themselves. So a reset that saves Tom Cruise but doesn't save them doesn't make sense within their own mythology.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that was really bad about it, not only did it not make sense that all of a sudden he gets this power again and it reset him and his friends, but not the aliens. That shouldn't have happened that way, but it also killed the stakes that the film had built up. We had that moment where, man, shit is on the line. We have got to really do it well this time because if we don't, all of humanity is going to go away. We've had some nice, some people sacrificing their lives to save the world, basically, and then at the end we get treated to a. But then they woke up and everyone was okay. And this film, despite being very funny, it was really, really funny in a lot of places, it was also very dark and very tense. You knew that at the other end of all these resets, the world gets taken over by these mimics. The world gets, we get colonized, we get wiped out by these things, so stakes are super damn high. And for it just to kind of magically be better, everyone cheering and celebrating at the end, felt very, very discordant.
I would have been fine if Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt had still died, but they accomplished their mission, and we see all the mimics shutting down, and then we have that announcement, that they're winning. That, for me, would have felt like victory earned, and maybe you have a little bitter note about no one really knows how it happened, or what Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's role, was. But that's not happy enough for Hollywood, you know what I mean? So they've got to have that stick a fork in it, it's done, happy
or they have to put in a shot of the little mimic babies somewhere in some corner of the earth that survived for edge of the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, so it was just disappointing to me, you know what I mean, to basically have everything that happened wiped out. And I totally didn't get I don't know, maybe it was some weird thing where the Omega was rooted into that moment when Tom Cruise is on the helicopter and the Omega tried to reset while Tom Cruise tried to reset and it worked. I don't know. But if I have to think that hard about it, I think it failed to kind of explain adequately what was happening. So
especially for a film that didn't require, up until that point, didn't really require you to think that hard about what was going on. It set its rules and it played by them.
Exactly.
It just didn't have the conviction and courage to just leave it the way it was, and have the end, some kind of an ending where. Okay, they died, but they died heroes.
Exactly.
I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, guys, how do you feel about moving on to some plugs?
Yeah.
I think we've talked. We ended on kind of a down note, but I think we would all say that like this film, aside from the ending, was a good film that you should go see if you're not, So don't let the fact that we kind of trashed on this last little aspect of it dissuade you. In fact,
No.
for me at least, it was like the film was so damn good up until that point. That's the reason why, like, I even bother bringing up why I didn't like the ending. Otherwise, I just said fuck the whole thing.
The ending
Exactly.
the ending was not what we preferred. It did not ruin the movie for me at all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Still thought it was a really great movie. Lovely summer film. And jockstrap
A lovely
bear
summer
ass.
romance.
Indeed. All right, plugs. Here we go. Will.
Okay. Couple things. Check out my blog, thelindisList.com. This Friday, my review of 22 Jump Street will be up. Just had a chance to see that tonight, and it brings lots of good laughs. I'll have the review up this Friday, June 13th. But I want to tell you about this movie I saw. It's on Amazon, so you can check this movie out right now, and I encourage you to do so. It's sitting very, very high up on my list for the year. It's called Enemy. This is a film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and it is basically he is this guy who finds out that there's another guy out there that looks exactly like him, which is funny.
Didn't you talk about this movie last week?
No, I see. That's the thing. That's what's so funny. I plugged last week The Double, which is Jesse Eisenberg. And if I compare the two, Enemy versus The Double, oh my gosh, see The Enemy. Like I recommended the one last week. Scratch my recommendation from last week. Watch Enemy.
You're so fickle.
I know, right? The director is Denis Villeneuve, who is the same guy that did Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, nice.
This is a movie that demands attention. You know those movies where you watch them and at the end you think like, I don't know if I 100% got that. I need to think about it and kind of like mull it over a bit. This is one of those films. Anyone that walks away from that and within 5 minutes of the movie says, yeah, I totally got everything that film offered. I would find that suspect because there's a lot to unpack here. So it is not the type of film you would want for like kind of light viewing with on a Friday night. But if you're looking for something very, very intense, very, very thorough, and very, very, very meticulously plotted out, Enemy is a fantastic film. I currently have it at the #1 spot for 2014 so far. And it's been a good year for film, and I was not expecting anything to resonate with me more than Linklater's Boyhood, but damn, this film had all of the right notes for me. Check out Enemy. I would love to talk theories with whoever it is that watches it and wants to gab about it. I'm definitely game to do so.
Will the Fickle Pickle.
I'll have to put that one on my list. I had heard about it, and I do like Jake Gyllenhaal. I do like what's the guy's first name? Villeneuve.
Yeah.
I really, as you know, I really like Prisoners a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what he's done with this movie. Not with one Jake Gyllenhaal,
but
with
two
Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's right. All right, Jim, what do you got this week?
I'm just going to plug, for those of you who haven't caught up with the, it's a TV series, but really it's kind of a series of movies, actually. Sherlock, the new Sherlock, the British Sherlock show with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. I know we've talked about it on the show before, but what's brought it to mind is that Netflix just recently released or made available season 3 of Sherlock. Remember now, each season is only 3 episodes, but the episodes are really like movies. They're about an hour and a half long. This is this first episode of season 3 is quite interesting. We're working our way through it, but if you're a fan of just some good, smartly written characters and kind of a whodunit plot, then you owe yourself to watch Sherlock. It again, if you haven't seen it, it's a modern take on Sherlock. It's not the old Sherlock. It's kind of Sherlock and Watson put in modern times, and 2 great actors, as we know, Cumberbatch and Freeman, and a lot of other great supporting actors. So yeah, check it out on Netflix. If you got Netflix, you should be watching Sherlock.
Awesome. All right, I have two plugs. Sorry, I have two. The first of which, How to Train Your Dragon 2 is out this weekend. How you guys missed that in your plugs of pluggishness, I don't know. But claimed it. It's mine.
That's because we typically don't plug, movies that we're going to review the following week.
Well, that's not true. We've done that a number of times, actually.
I haven't seen it yet, so it would be a next week plug. I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, it's out this weekend. There are shows starting Thursday evening all over the place, getting incredible reviews. And, of course, it's by the wonderfully woofy Dean Dubois, who is amazing. He was the guy behind, or one of the guys behind Lilo and Stitch, and, of course, the first How to Train Your Dragon movie. So we're absolutely looking forward to that film. And then my second plug is actually TV related, and also Netflix related. Season 2 of Orange is the New Black is out, and we're I think like 5 episodes in, Jim, 5 or 6.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah. Enjoying it immensely, and Facebook and Twitter are ablaze with Orange is the New Black stuff. So much so I've had to basically take a little furlough from Facebook and Twitter to some degree, because that's the thing with these Netflix series. Some people shotgun them all at once, and then they're like, oh my god, let's talk about everything about the whole season that I just watched in like a day. And then you have other people who kind of stretch it out a little bit. And so it's hard to have sort of that social media discussion when everyone is sort of at a different place. But
the water cooler is no more.
I know. But next week, when MBP TV makes its triumphant return from a few weeks off, we're going to be talking a lot of Orange is the New Black, as well as, this is a third plug, I guess, the season finale of Game of Thrones, which is on Sunday. Yeah, so a lot going on. Catch MBP TV next Monday night for our live stream reviews of some of those shows, and I'm pretty much done with my plugs. So, all right. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We appreciated having you along for the ride. And,
you're welcome.
It was fun having some movie conversation with you guys. Listeners, thank you for tuning in week after week. We love you guys very much. Heart.
Yes. Tell your friends.
And we will definitely see you all next week. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.